This is the Voiceover Marketing Podcast, episode 44. And this episode of the Voiceover Marketing Podcast is sponsored by the book Voice Over Legal by Rob Siglimpaglia. And if you're a voice talent, whether you're brand new to voiceover or you've been at this game for a while, one of the things I say in this podcast all the time is you need to treat this business as a business. Voiceover is a fun business, but it's still a business. And I had Rob Siglimpaglia on the program to talk about the legal issues surrounding, or some of the legal issues in the voiceover business. And he's written this wonderful book. I got a copy of it myself, and I have arranged for you to save $5 off the cost of the Voiceover Legal book. That's up to 20% off the list price of the book, and you will also help support this podcast. If you want to get a copy of this book, just go to voiceovermarketingpodcast.com, episode 44, click on the show notes, and look for the resources section. You'll see the Voiceover Legal book a little bit down the page. I don't want to put it right in your face, but this is something you need to get. I downloaded a copy. I bought a copy of the book myself, and within 2 days of getting it, I had to look through it for an answer to a music copyright question. There are all kinds of scenarios that he points out in this book. You need to get a copy of this book. So that's the Voiceover Legal book. Download it today. Go to episode 44 show notes and click the link. Save $5. That's up to 20% off the list price, and you'll help support the Voiceover Marketing Podcast. All right. Now, on with the show. Hello, and welcome to this episode of the Voiceover Marketing Podcast. My name is John Melley, and this is the podcast dedicated to teaching in-depth and advanced marketing strategies for people in the voiceover and audio production professions. My goal is to help you make more money by showing you ways to leverage your time, charge more for your talents, and allow you to spend more time doing the things you want to do in your life. Hey there, it's John. How are you today? Thanks for spending some time with me. I do appreciate it. Wowzy, wowzy, woo, woo. Yeah, just like that. This year has been nuts on so many levels. I interviewed Kelley Buttrick a couple of weeks ago, and man, it was awesome. We had a great conversation. Was putting it together. Kelley told me that she wanted to do a marketing push for Jeep. I guess it was their 75th anniversary weekend. And so she was going to be doing an awful lot of promotions for her efforts to become the voice for Jeep over that weekend. So to help her, we held back on publishing the episode. And my intention was to publish it early last week. And we had what was called a microburst or a macroburst or whatever. It's basically a mini tornado swooped through the Boston area. And as I drove home, I started to see trees and debris in the road. And as I turned the corner onto my street, all those sticks and matted down dead leaves that you find all over the road because there was a lot of heavy wind. Well, I saw an awful lot of that on my street. And as I pulled into the driveway, I turn in, and there's this gigantic tree that has fallen from the neighbor's yard, smashed through my fence, and landed into my backyard. It probably was a 60-foot tree or more, and it just missed my house, thank God. And my neighbor said, "Hey, that's a bit of a surprise for you, huh?" Yeah, that's my Boston accent coming out here for you. Anyway, yeah, it was quite the surprise. It missed the house, but it took out my fence, it took out my shed, and it took out my vegetable garden, and I'm a little annoyed at that. I had corn that was growing. It was just about to ear out, and now I've got to start over. I think my potatoes will live. I think the carrots are going to live, and I think the beans will make a comeback. The tomatoes and other parts of the garden were left unscathed. However, I think a rabbit's gotten in under my fence work to keep him out, and he is now munching on my kale. I have named this rabbit Walter J. Bunny. Ann likes to add on Esquire, so he is Walter J. Bunny Esquire. Millionaire, I own a mansion and a yacht. Yet I digress. And then, as my nephew likes to say as he's telling a story, and then a branch somehow missed my beehive. It was precariously suspended between the roof of my shed, punched a nice hole into the roof, and then got caught up in the branches of another tree. And the hive was directly beneath it. I don't know why the tree didn't hit this hive. I thank God it didn't, because we would have had a cluster, you know what, a lot of screaming angry bees. I got home on Tuesday and I said, I'm going to go clean up some of these branches, at least get it away from the hive. So when the real tree people show up, they won't have to go over here and they'll just be able to work fine without the risk of being stung or wrecking the hive. And so I look at the thing, and it was one of those situations where if I touched anything, I don't have the equipment. I mean, I have a chainsaw and I have a ladder, but that's it, you know? These folks wound up bringing a crane in to haul this tree out. Literally, it was like a 70-foot crane and cherry pickers and chainsaws to get this out of my backyard. I've put a photo gallery on this episode if you want to look at some of the pictures. Maybe I'll put up some of the videos of them moving. I am not a cameraman. They're very shaky. The quality is kind of annoying to watch, but I captured it for posterity's sake. At any rate, so I'm looking at this branch and I'm thinking, I got to move the hive. So the beekeeper comes the next day, and we discuss where we're going to situate the hive out of the way. She comes in, does a great job. The bees are so calm, and she moves the hive. The more she took it apart, the angrier they got. And at one point she said, you may want to go inside because they're getting kind of angry now. And I don't have the net and the hat. I mean, I've got a lot of interests and hobbies, and bees are one of them, but I ain't doing the beekeeper net thing, the head thing. I'm not doing it. I've got enough going on, and that's one less thing I'm taking on. So I pay them to come and take care of my bees, and I get all the honey from it, and I get the wax from it, and I get the good feeling of knowing I'm helping the environment in doing this. And my garden thrives with having these bees here pollinating all my stuff. Anywho, she moves the hive to this new location. She comes around to the front of the house. I walk down the front steps. We're standing in the front yard. She's harvested 2 frames of honey, so I'm going to get some honey out of this deal already, which is early for me this year. And we're standing in the front yard talking when all of a sudden, little Miss Nasty Bee comes flying around to the front of the house, sees me, and decides, you're the dude, and zaps me on my forehead. And I thought, damn. That hurts. I've been stung before, but you don't have there's a lot of bone right up there in the forehead, and it just went deep and fast. I thought, darn. So I went inside, I took the stinger out, I iced it, and I felt pretty good. And then Thursday morning, I had to take Wednesday off from work. Thursday morning, I wake up and I look like I've been in the movie Rocky. My whole eye is all swollen up, both the top and the bottom. And I went into work, and then it was like, okay, when are the tree people coming? And it was calling the insurance company and taking pictures, and the shed people, and now we got to find a fence person. And it's just like, are you kidding me? Because I got all this other stuff that I won't go into going on, and it's just been nuts. But I got some good things coming up. I'm going to be taking the rest of this week off. Getting back to the subject at hand here, thank you for listening to me. It's 2 steps forward, 1 step back, it seems like this year has been for me. Let's lighten the mood here. Kelley, Buttrick, and I had this great conversation. We spoke for an hour and a half, and it's just chock full of great information. And it's entertaining to listen to as well. So what we're going to do, and this is something I've never done with this podcast, is we've got so much content, I didn't want to take anything out. I mean, I cleaned it up a little bit, but we're going to break it up into 2 episodes. So this is the first part of this great interview with Kelley Buttrick. But before we do, make sure you go to the show notes, because all of the videos that she created to promote herself to become the voice of Jeep, they're on the show notes of episode 44. So go to voiceovermarketingpodcast.com, look for the episode number 44, and extensive stuff in the show notes. Lots of videos, lots of pictures, lots of good content for you. So I'm not going to say any more. Let's just get right to that interview. Thanks for listening. Well, welcome back. My guest today is Kelley Buttrick, and I'm really excited to have you on the program today, Kelley.
Well, I'm excited and intimidated because you are like the VO marketing god, so take it easy on me, please.
Oh, no, yeah, thank you. That's nice for you. Nice of you to say, but we're going to have fun today. Before we get into the Q&A, I just want to let everybody know about Kelley's background. Before she was in voiceover, she had a background in public relations, media, and marketing. She's been in voiceover for 5.5 years, full-time. She calls herself a research nerd, and she you were an investigative newspaper reporter.
Yes, it was really fun.
You sent me a few bullets about your background yesterday, and you say you married way outside the voiceover industry to a healthcare supply chain consultant. Why did you share that?
Because I love him, but there is not a creative bone in his body.
Oh, okay. What's your husband's name?
His name is Brian.
Brian, don't listen to this.
Yeah, don't worry. I'm not talking behind his back. I'll say it to his face. He owns it. He is not a vision. He's not a vision person.
Okay.
And I only threw that in there just because I know so many of us in the industry have done the same thing, and we can absolutely relate that when you talk about voiceover, they just kind of roll their eyes like, oh, yeah, that's great. She talks to herself in a box all day.
Pretty much, yeah. So you've got 2 teenage daughters and a couple of spoiled rescue dogs. What type of dogs are they, Kelley?
Well, Heidi is a shepherd mix, and Gypsy, we aren't quite sure. She's all dog. Mom thinks she looks just like the Luck Dragon from Never-Ending Story. Remember Falcor?
No.
Oh, come on, John.
I know. What's a video game?
I'll have to send you a link. No, it's a movie. Maybe I'm older than you. It's a great fantasy movie.
What's the movie again?
It's called The Never-Ending Story.
The Never-Ending Story. No, I missed that.
All right, I'm sending you a picture of the Luck Dragon.
Okay.
Because it looks just like my dog.
Everybody just in the audience just a dope slap going, oh, you got to be kidding me. He doesn't know that? Sorry. But anyway.
Skip the sequel. The sequel was no good, but the original is it's classic.
Okay. Yeah, send it over. I'm always looking for something new. I need new brain material. So
this is great. It's really good brain material. It's very creative.
Okay. I'm looking forward to getting that link. So you had a public relations background and an investigative newspaper background. Tell us how this transition to voiceover started and also what you have been able to take from those 2 other careers and apply to your voiceover background.
Well,
if anything.
A lot, actually.
Yeah.
Everybody comes to our industry, as you know, just a different way. And I wanted to be an actress when I was in high school. That was my dream, and I have a double minor in it from Auburn University. I wanted to be an actress. Mm-hmm. So that's kind of where the acting part came in. But then when I put myself through UGA, because my parents pretty much cut me off because I had such a great time at Auburn, but that's a whole other interview for another day. And God bless them for doing it. Yeah. So I put myself through UGA and decided, thanks to the mentorship of someone who really took a chance on giving me a broadcast job, Chip Linus, at a small little radio station in the basement of an insurance company in rural Georgia, if that tells you anything.
That's awesome.
Convinced me that going into the journalism school at UGA was going to be a good idea. And so I put myself through school as a public relations major with a journalism degree. It was great. But because of the broadcast background and the acting background and working in radio, I was doing voiceover before I even knew it was a thing. I hate to admit it.
Yeah, no, that's common, yeah.
I was a promotions director at a radio station after I graduated from college. It was great, kind of a mix of, interacting between sales and on air. And the production director just kept bringing me in, and clients kept asking me to do voiceover for them, but I didn't know it was voiceover until I left. And the production manager said, as your going-away gift, I'd love to give you a reel.
Oh.
And I was like, oh, wow, so this is a thing. Cool. So after that, it was pretty much word of mouth. I always did it on the side from my other career in PR or marketing or, journalism. I guess it's about 5, and I always did on the side, but about 5 years ago, once the kids were in school and I was able to really dig in and do it, I decided that I was going to make a career out of it and I called an old on-camera agent of mine from when I was in high school and asked who I should study with. And they said Paul Armbruster, and they could not have given me a better recommendation. And I miss him. We lost him several years ago, but I really credit my career to him. He's amazing, or was amazing.
Sure. And we all have mentors in our careers and different aspects of it. And, obviously the success speaks for itself. I mean, you just sent me a quick list of some of the clients that you've had, recent national broadcast spots for Whirlpool, Simon Malls, Stickley Furniture, Teva Sandals, Direct Eats, Pampers, and more, and doing narrations for the Home Depot, Wells Fargo. I mean, geez, you're kicking, you know what? These are great clients. Very, very, very impressive. And
well, thank you.
Yeah.
Of course, I'm blushing now, and just I'm hearing my mom's voice. Don't ever brag. Don't be a braggart.
Oh, well, you've earned it. I mean, just this is great. I mean, it's a lot of people are going, oh, myself included, going, oh, wow. So anyhow, you also sent me a ways back, and this kind of evolved from John Florian doing an article on VO Extra.
I love John.
Isn't he great?
He was one of the first people I met in this industry.
Yeah.
And we were in a session together at FAFCON, and he heard that I had a journalism background.
Okay.
And we had a great chat, and he let me start writing for him. And this was when I first started, so it was just a great way to get to know people. And John is he's just so wonderful.
He's a real gentleman. Yeah.
He is.
Yeah. I met him in person. We've had several conversations on the phone, and I did a webinar with him, I don't know, a couple of years ago, I think now. And I actually met him at the Voice Arts Awards in New York, not this past fall, but the year before. And it was great to connect with him in person. So at any rate, I don't know if you wrote the article or if he wrote it, but it was all about your targeting and going after Jeep. And you sent over a bunch of videos, and I want to ask you a few of them. I have to say my favorite is Jeep hair.
Everybody likes that one.
Yeah, it's awesome.
Except for one person, and I'll share that story.
Okay. But you sent over a number of videos that you have sent to the Jeep marketing department. Is that correct?
Yeah, so not this past July, but July a year ago, we launched a full-scale marketing campaign we sent it directly to the inboxes of people we had targeted at Jeep, and that's kind of where the investigative journalism comes in.
Okay.
I would research the people who were the decision makers in the marketing department with the brand, with FCA Corporate that owns Jeep, looking at their affiliated ad agencies. My intern is awesome. It was a great opportunity for me to teach her how to dig and find emails.
Mm-hmm.
She actually found the email of the highest guy at Jeep in the bottom of a blog post response.
Oh, wow.
She's so awesome.
Wow.
But we sent it directly to their inboxes, and the first one, and they were just short, invited them to check out the video with a short teaser. When they clicked it, it took them to an individual URL that lived on kbvoiceovers.com, so they had access to everything that was there, demos, everything else. And like a shark tracker, my digital marketing company would track them, where they were, how much time they were spending there, whether it was being sent to each other in the office, that sort of thing. So it really was planned. I mean, it was when people say taking a leap of faith, I guess you can see where people would think that. But it was well-researched, well-planned, well-targeted. It wasn't necessarily a leap of, wow, I hope this works. It was, all right, this is who we need to hit. This is how we need to hit them. This is how we need to evaluate whether those hits took, that sort of thing.
And you're embarrassed to talk to me? I mean, you're like kicking it. Go ahead.
Well, I'm a nerd. Like I said, I'm a marketing nerd too.
Yeah.
And so this is exciting to me. And I told a local newspaper reporter when she asked me why, it really kind of threw me off. You'd think I'd be prepared for that question, but it hit me when I was talking to her that one of the reasons why I did this is because I missed the feeling. I miss that campaign feeling. What we do, yes, we're involved in campaigns every day, but we're just a one little part. And half the time, we don't even know the last names of the people we're working with. So we don't, unless we find it on YouTube and we all scope, iSpot TV. We don't really see the end result. We aren't a part of that process.
Right.
The whole team feeling.
Yeah.
And I think that deep down inside, as much as I love what I do, and I would never want to do anything else, I don't want to go back and work behind a desk again. But I missed that camaraderie, that excitement, the planning, the unified feeling that we're all going through this together, because I hired people to work with me, and it was that process, and it still is as we continue to move forward.
Yeah.
It feeds me. It feeds my psyche. I really
awesome.
like it.
That's awesome. Yeah, a lot of people are afraid to market, and what I try and share with folks and what you're talking about is that marketing can be just as creative as voiceover.
Absolutely.
Yeah. I mean,
and you're not reading somebody else's words.
Yeah,
you're creating. Creating a marketing campaign is not so different from creating a character. You're researching, you're applying what you know, and then you're sending it out there, just like you do in your development. I'm not a character voice actor. I do some, but not really. So for me to make that connection, I mean, it really is pretty much the same thing. Yeah, the process.
That's a great analogy. I never put it that way, but that is really, really good. That's very helpful. Thank you. So you have why did you do this? Because aside from the camaraderie and everything, you have a passion for Jeep.
I do have a passion for Jeep. So when as we all do at the end of the year, you look at things and go, okay, so where do I want to go? And, I've always have to kind of have that goal in mind. I do not operate, and I know that Tom Deere would totally freak out, but I don't operate off a set business plan. I don't have a marketing plan, but I do keep things in mind. And one of the things I thought is I've always been an advocate of the concept of a brand voice. When I was in PR, you talk about you always have to use the same colors, the same font, the logo has to be in the same place. And obviously, broadcast outlets get it with their imaging voices, but the private sector doesn't get it, or most in the private sector don't. So I'm thinking, okay, if I could be a brand voice, what brand would I want? And immediately, Jeep came to mind. I love Jeep, and I love not just the vehicles. I mean, the vehicles are obviously fun, but I love the history of it. Okay. I love the pillars that they talk about, the pillars of Jeep, the feelings of authenticity and history and freedom and adventure and the willingness to create your own path. All of those things really resonate. And so I thought, I'm going to go for Jeep. And everything about it says no female voice. That's certainly a challenge. And then I was reading, because I researched them. They were going to come out with an 8-passenger super luxury SUV called the Jeep Grand Wagoneer, bringing back that moniker that ended, I think, in the early 90s.
Oh, I was going to say late 80s. Okay.
So that screams mom. I mean, that screams mom louder than a kid looking for their shoes in the morning, Yeah. And so I thought, this is it. I'm going to really jump on that. Well, since, you got to stay flexible in marketing, they then pushed it to 2017 and then 2018, and then now it's looking like 2019 was last week. They came out and said 2019, and they've added another vehicle with that moniker. Now it's the Grand Wagoneer and the Wagoneer that Mike Manley is talking about. So that particular video obviously needs updating or something, but that was part of the motivation was, okay, so I want to do this. If I'm going to voice for a brand, feel like part of that team, because I'd love to be a part of the marketing team. I'd love to be a part of the creative team as they're creating. It would be really fun, and I hope that their digital marketing team is aware of what I'm doing. My gosh, I've done everything but put a billboard outside, which I have considered the headquarters, and price. But I just think it'd be really awesome to be the voice of that brand, because when they talk about authenticity, it doesn't get more authentic than somebody who lives with the brand every day, loves the brand. We have 3 Jeeps. Wow. Brian just bought a brand new Jeep SRT, which, by the way, is so fun to drive, but really dangerous because it's so fast. You forget how fast you're going. And quick little telling story.
Yeah.
I just got back from a live announced gig in Vegas and was kind of jet-lagged and took the kids to our local Athens music festival, AthFest, and I was exhausted. And had Brian's new car. I had a carload of kids, filled it with gas, and drove off with the pump still in the car.
Oh! I've always been afraid to do. I was going to do that. But
apparently it happens more. I've turned around, obviously, and told the guy, hey, it's me, I did it. And he was really cool about it. I said, do I need to fill out a police report? I haven't been drinking.
Yeah.
And he said, no, it happens more often than you'd like. But, yeah, that SRT took a licking and kept on ticking. No scratches. It was nice.
Wow. Did they have to take care of the pump handle or whatever it was? Or was that all bent?
I mean, when I pulled up, they had bags everywhere, and there was gas spilling out the street.
Oh, gosh.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. That was a fun call to my husband, too.
Guess what?
Guess what I just did? Your brand new car.
Well, there's the authentic and the honesty you were talking about.
Absolutely. No, I love it, and we love Jeep. I can't wait. Right now, they're coming out with a new version of the Jeep Wrangler, so I'm more than likely going to buy the new Jeep Cherokee Unlimited. 4-door will be my next purchase.
So
it's going to be lighter and more fuel efficient.
Oh, okay. So how long do you keep your Jeeps for before you?
Well, Brian's Jeep we just gave to my soon-to-be 16-year-old daughter, his Jeep Grand Cherokee. We've owned Jeeps ever since we got engaged. It was our first big purchase together.
Okay.
My dad built a Jeep. He's now driving a Jeep JKU. One of the new content I'm coming out with, just another side story, is that we went back to the Silver Lake Sand Dunes last week. We were in Michigan.
Okay, I've been there.
My parents were up there, too. Oh, isn't it? Oh, you have? Isn't it cool?
It's up in the northern part there, isn't it?
It's right along Lake Michigan.
Yeah.
It's beautiful. The sands change, and that's where my dad would take, and I call my stepdad Dad. It's really awesome. I have great step-parents.
That's awesome.
My stepdad built this Jeep and would bounce us all over the dunes before there was a test hill, because there's no way that old CJ3 would have gotten up the test hill.
Okay.
So I rented 2 Jeeps. This was it was actually a week ago today.
Oh, okay.
I rented 2 Jeeps, and what's so funny is that we did it on the day I launched the campaign a year before. So weird that happened, and I swear it wasn't planned. So we went up there, and my 81-year-old stepdad bounced my kiddos all over those dunes. And Brian and I had our own Jeep. The kids wouldn't ride with us. We had so much fun, and it was so much fun to watch him do it, and he has a Jeep, and then in September, he and I are going to take an off-road driving class at the Uwahari school in North Carolina.
Oh, very fun. Yeah.
So we're still a Jeep family, and now we're 3 generations of Jeep family.
Well, if Jeep's listening, hello, what do you
want?
want?
Hello, Jeep, please. What do you want from me? Because I'm doing everything I can. Okay, that sounded really whiny. Jeep, I will rock your campaign if you book me.
There you go.
I don't want to be a whiner.
No, you're not a whiner. You're imploring and pointing out the obvious, Jeep. Anyway.
Come on now. Exactly. Well, one of the snail mails I sent them talked about how a female talent appeals to their target demographic. It may be that they're pitching Wranglers to a traditionally male-based audience, but female voice, and I did all this research on it, and on the back of the card I had all these statistics, from CNN, all these different research teams that have researched the female voice.
Okay.
So just part of the pitch.
Wow, that's interesting. So you've really divin. We
speak for a living, don't we, John?
Yeah. You took a deep dive in your research. Let's do it. Let's phrase it that way.
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, I always talk about immersion. I did a what do they call that? A Twitter chat, which was new for me, with a PR group, and talked about brand immersion. And really, when you're marketing, a lot of people do this blast, and they'll do a blast. They don't dig deep. It's just, hey, here I am, look at me, I'm fabulous.
Yeah.
And that works for some people, and that's great. That's not me. I would rather immerse myself in someone, really get to know them, get to know their brand, get to know how they operate, what's important to them, and then I really target the soft spot. I find those spots, and I hit them.
How do you find those soft spots?
How do I find those soft spots?
Yeah, what says, oh, this is a soft spot?
So if it's mentioned multiple times in their website,
okay.
If there's an article written about them and they talk about something in a passionate way, you can usually pick up themes.
Okay.
With somebody like Jeep, who has gone through several agencies of record. When I started this, they did not have an agency of record, which is the reason I timed it when I did. They do now.
Okay.
And now, of course, I'm researching their agency of record, trying to find things that are important to them, and they are such a cool agency.
Fun. Yeah.
So that's what I mean about digging deep, is you find those spots, those soft spots, the spots that are important to them, that are value.
Okay, I wanted you to define soft spot because I was wondering, it's like, are you seeing areas that are lacking or areas of passion?
Areas of passion. So these are spots that soften their hearts, that resonate with them. These are the spots that you want to hit, because then when you're marketing, rather than blasting out and saying, this is why I'm so great, you're saying, this is why you and I would be great together.
Mm-hmm. Or
you
here's how I can
this,
help you.
This is how I deliver that.
Yeah.
You value this is how I deliver that.
Gotcha. How you can help the client rather than what can you pay me?
Yeah, and
Exactly.
I'm a little bit different, where people are like, oh, we're problem solvers.
Mm-hmm.
And yes, there are certain times that we are, but I think that's really kind of misogynistic. We are not problem solvers.
Mm-hmm.
We're voice talent, right?
Yeah.
So it's our job to be the voice in their head. So to come in and say, I'm going to solve your problems. Not really. You're not.
Well, thanks for showing up for the session then.
Yeah, oh, great, because that was going to be a problem. No, but what we can do, we may not be problem solvers, but we can still make something important and feel that something's important that they think is important. And we can support that and support what they're doing. We can support their issues. I wouldn't necessarily say we solve their issues. I think that's giving ourselves a little too much credit.
Yeah, you're part of the process. As obviously, they're creating this whatever recording to solve a problem that they are trying to solve. If that sounds articulate, I need more coffee.
We're the support team.
Yeah, exactly. So you're like you said just a few moments ago, you're giving voice to their solution.
Yeah, you're giving voice to their words. And I wrote a kind of inflammatory, I kind of took off, and I'm going to throw Paul Strickwerda out there. When I first started seeing him online, I'm thinking, oh my gosh, that guy is so mean. And I got to meet him, and he's so not mean at all. He's one of the kindest people you'll ever meet. But I liked the way he was kind of would incite things and poke and twist things. And I loved that.
Yeah.
So I took that vein with a blog kind of thing I did for as part of the campaign on LinkedIn. And one of the things I said, which I knew would kind of tick people off, but that is, we are not the creatives. Yes, we bring some creativity to what we do, but we're not the creatives.
Yeah.
The writers are the creatives. They are the ones that are creating. It's our job to just sound like the creative voice in their head.
Yeah.
Unless you, of course, if you're a voice actor and you're into animation and games and that sort of thing, obviously there's a lot of creativity that you bring into it. But my genre, my specialty is commercial and narration. So yes, you can get a little creative with the read, but we are not the creatives. The people who are really bearing the creative load are the people who are hiring us and directing us through the session. Yeah,
I mean, you want to give them what they want first. I think after you've worked the copy, I think it's fine to say, hey, I've got this idea. Can I try something?
I do that all the time.
Yeah. Yep. And I think they're usually open to that. You don't want to just start off that way. I was looking at this, and I think we should do it this way. No.
Yeah, no. That would be, no. I keep joking that one of these FastCons I'm going to do a session on voiceover etiquette.
Okay.
Where you would not do something like that. But the problem is, somebody once told me the person I was going to try and team with an agent on it, and he said, the people who need it won't come.
Well, because they don't think they're doing anything wrong.
Exactly.
Oh, that's funny.
I probably will not do one on voiceover etiquette, but what you said is so true. You don't want to walk in and say, here, I am, ready to solve your problems with my creativity.
I want to, that's funny. I want to loop back and just kind of recap a few notes that I took while you were answering some of these questions and talking about things and just highlight them for the listeners. The number one thing that I wrote down is that you have invested in this campaign, not only with time, but with money. You've paid team, you've got an intern, which is really impressive. You've got social media people working things for you, obviously. So you're not just kind of hoping it's going to happen.
I'm in.
You're in. You're spending money. And then when you land this, notice I didn't say...
to God's ears, please.
Well, I was going to say, notice I didn't say if. I said when you land this. I meant that on purpose. is that there will be a return on that investment.
And I've already seen a return on that investment. This is going to sound weird. Obviously, I want a voice for Jeep. I wouldn't have invested everything I have in this because essentially I'm working 2 full-time jobs as a voice talent and, as trying to keep this thing going.
Oh, I love you just said. I love that you just said that.
Why is that?
Well, I mean, I'm sorry if it's taking up that much of your time, but I mean, at the same time, I love the fact that you just said, look, I'm spending this time and it takes effort. But at any rate, go ahead.
It does. But, obviously I wouldn't have invested all of this to not get Jeep. I want Jeep more than anything. But at this point, because I did all this under the radar until they went public with their My Jeep Story, their hashtag My Jeep Story campaign, I did it under the radar and it stalled. We were talking about the Jeep hair video.
Yeah.
After that video, I got pretty much an email from at first I'd gotten great responses from the people at Jeep. We love this, how fun, we're sending it to people. But then one pretty high-up person, basically in a very, just in a very nice way, said, don't call us, we'll call you.
Okay.
And I was like, now what do I do? Because you don't want to take it public because it wasn't like they didn't send me a cease and desist. There wasn't a no.
Yeah.
It was a maybe. We like what you've done, but maybe. And I'm sitting there thinking, oh, great. So when they went public, I went public. But when I went public, I have a secondary goal. Obviously, I want a voice for Jeep. There should be no question about that. But in this effort, and the reason I have invested so much more in this to create additional video content and all of the social media and just getting it out there, is because I would love to interest other brands. I would love to get on the radar of other brands, other big brands that hopefully all of these public relations efforts are driving them to my website so that they're hearing my demos, that they are seeing part of my brand personality and see if they think it will match their personality. I mean, I think about things like, first of all, I love where I'm from, Michigan, but I love Athens, Georgia, and the people, Muriel, who make Heart Guard and Frontline, are located here in Athens.
Okay. I'd
love to voice for them. So, as I'm doing this campaign, I'm trying to find ways to tie them into it as well and get their attention. Dove. I love the realness and authenticity that Dove brought to their Real Beauty campaign, and they continue to promote that. And, obviously, Women's Lib is, I'm very pro girl power, so I love Dove. It'd be great if some of those brands saw what I was doing and booked me, because that would help me get a return on my investment. The return on my investment that I'm seeing right now is in SEO. And it's magic mojo. I don't quite understand how it works.
Yeah, no, I don't either.
But when I ask people how you heard about me, the cold people, the people who will send me they'll fill out the form on the website, or they'll call or send me an email, and they are finding it Google searching, I'm coming up more and more and more. And at WovoCon, I wasn't in the session, was doing a session on SEO, and I came up, I think, number 1 unpaid, or at least on the first page, as female voice talent.
Wow.
So that's a pretty good return on the investment. So Paige, super intern, and I are compiling, and we don't have a final figure yet, but we're compiling to see how much of that is coming from SEO so that I can get a financial look at how much I'm investing. And, I'll say it, and I have not said this on any other interview. Okay. There is an end. I can't continue to do this. I am exhausted.
Sure.
So there is an end, and now that Jeep has, last week extended the Jeep Grand Wagoneer yet again.
For
and of course,
3
I'd
years.
love to.
Yeah.
It's like, oh my gosh. So I will probably start winding things down in December when they wind down their My Jeep Story campaign, which is, again, what launched the public part of KB for Jeep.
Okay.
Then I'll wind that down, and I'm actually meeting this week. Please, everybody, keep their fingers crossed that they'll take me on with the University of Georgia's School of Journalism, my alma mater, about taking me on their PR department. Has a company a PR company, to talk about transitioning this momentum from KB for Jeep to KB voiceovers, to hire them as my PR agency, essentially.
Wow.
To take it there, because my PR agency, love them, got to shout them out, C-Spark Go. They are awesome. The person who had my account went to go work for another company, so they didn't have the bandwidth to keep me on. they work with me and they continue to help me with pitching media outlets. But I really need some outside PR help to help me maintain this marketing momentum as I transition out of KB for Jeep and really dive more into KB voiceovers.
Wow, there's just so much there. So you can leverage the content that you've created for yourself with KB for Jeep. Obviously,
yes.
Have you thought about sharing the videos to other companies that you mentioned that you're passionate about, saying, hey, look, this is the passion that I can bring to you. This is what I've done to get Jeep's business. But, here's, like, I love Dove. I'm all in. Here's what I've done. Let's go. That kind of thing?
I'd love to do that.
Yeah.
My fear with that, because that's a great idea. Mm-hmm. My fear with that is that if I don't have a Jeep booking,
gotcha,
that it'd be easier to come to somebody with a success, just like when I pitch myself to agencies, talent agencies. I'll say, basically, I tell them how I'm going to make them money because I voiced for so-and-so, so-and-so, and such, and I throw those big names out there.
Right.
So with Dove, it'd be great to say, hey, Dove, I did this for Jeep. Because I get comments from people all the time saying, wow, does Jeep know what you're doing for them? Or I bought a Jeep because of watching how much fun you're having doing this. And I'm continuing to generate content. I have made it a lot less about me, this new content.
Okay.
And more about other people. I'm doing Jeep Hair We Care, where I throw people in and we talk about a charity thing. I'm still working that out because I'm a little awkward on camera, maybe a lot awkward on camera. And it's hard to, and all my audio friends hate the fact that I am, recording this with the top down. But thank God Zach Miller is a miracle worker and makes it sound good for me. But I'm doing another one. I'm coming up with one called Jeep Dog Tales because Jeep is getting ready to spin their My Jeep Story campaign for dogs.
Oh, fun.
So I'm out on social media right now trying to gather people's inspiring dog stories that I'll be narrating. So it still highlights my voice, but I'm talking about their dog and their dog's Jeep life and these sorts of things. So I'm continuing to generate content, and I'd love to find a way. And if you come up with a way, oh, my gosh, John, you'll be my hero. That I
leverage.
Can spin that to leverage it to Dove or HeartGuard or Tide or Chobani Yogurt or, any of those brands that resonate with me, that would be great. And one of the things I do plan on doing is because Muriel is in Athens, I want to bring them in and do a Jeep Hair We Care with them, probably about the same time that Jeep does their My Jeep Story dog focus. But I've got to work out some kinks. Right now I'm leaving them under 60 seconds so that I can play them on Instagram.
Okay.
But it's very difficult it's awkward for me as the driver because the passenger's talking and it's great, but it's hard for me to respond like we're doing and having a question and answer and an engagement because I'm trying to watch the road, drive my stick shift, and, count in my head so that I'm making sure they're keeping it in time.
Right.
So I'm kind of looking at ways to either make it longer or, I don't know, I'm still tweaking all that, and I want to make sure I have all those tweaks taken care of before I approach Muriel.
Just something I'm going to point out to everybody. Listen to the amount of detail Kelley is putting into everything. Everything is thought out. No, really, everything is thought out. And this goes back to your bullet point about being a research nerd, but it works for you. What was I going to... Oh, here's the backdoor business for you.
Oh, please. What's that?
Doing this for other voiceover talent. You think I'm kidding? I mean, it's like you've got this whole team of people that you've got a model that you've created. And
wow.
You've got a blueprint. And there are other folks out there who have passions for other folks. You should set up shop. And you've got the team, so maybe it would help you. I mean, you've got the view of the voiceover world, but you've got the team.
I leave that to people like you. I'll tell you why.
You don't want to. Your focus is doing voiceovers and finding clients and doing stuff like that.
It is, yeah. And I have, and I don't want to hurt anybody's feelings. I have a problem with some of the people out there that I feel, whether they intentionally or unintentionally, prey upon people in our industry.
Oh, yeah, I agree with you. Yeah, I know what you're talking about.
Where they will, they feel like they have the answer. And I consult with people, and please, and I hate to say this because I don't want to get flooded with things, but I have had people in our industry call, and we brainstorm, and I look at their stuff, or we talk about it, and I'm always honest, which is hard. But what works for me isn't necessarily going to work for somebody else. So that's why I put all this out there for free. That's why I have the KV for Jeep. That's why I wrote that article with John.
Yeah.
My mom called after seeing the PR article and said, "Why are you giving this away for free?" And I said, because I feel like so many people have helped me in this industry. And, I look at somebody like Zach Miller, who has just mentored me and, really helped me avoid some stupid decisions as I have, found my way in this industry. And I feel like it's a way for me to give back. I'm always happy to talk to people about it. Cold calling, I'm horrible at. If people are mean to me, I cry. So,
Sure.
So I can't do that. But maybe research is not somebody else's thing. So I don't want to sit there and say research is going to make you a successful voice talent. Research.
Yeah.
Because that may not be their thing. And if not, it's going to come off as awkward and uncomfortable, and it's not going to resonate with their pitchee. But I am happy to come on shows like this and write for John or whatever about things that have worked for me. I'm happy to share that. I am wide open to share that. And, if somebody wants to call and just brainstorm, I love to do that. Linda Joy, do you know Linda Joy?
I don't.
She's a joy. And she came and visited me when her son, who was biking for just a wonderful, wonderful cause to prevent sex trafficking.
Oh, okay.
She came to meet him in Atlanta and drove up to see me. And we just had a great time sitting on my back porch and brainstorming. And Lisa Biggs doesn't live very far from me, and she'll come down and we'll brainstorm about stuff. And,
oh, fun, yeah. Okay.
It's fun, and I love to do that with people. And I don't charge for that, at least at this point, because I just look at it as a way to give back. But people, this is important. When you're marketing, you have to do what is comfortable and excites you and motivates you. If you wake up and say, well, Coach so-and-so told me I need to make 5 cold calls today. So I'm going to sit here, and this is the time I have blocked in my schedule, in my business plan, for my daily business plan. I'm going to block 1 hour to call 5 people, and here are my talking points. If inside you're going, oh, God, I hate this. Oh, please don't make me do this. It's going to come out.
Yeah, they'll smell it.
It's going to come out.
Yeah.
If you are a terrible writer, don't send cold emails. They're just... I feel like it's kind of common sense. Don't do things that aren't comfortable for you just because they worked with somebody else.
That's a good piece of advice. I like that.
Good. I'm glad you like that because, again, you're the guru. So.
No. I just threw that idea out there, and that would be a back-end business model for you. But like you just said...
when my voice goes... I'm in. I'll be out there hawking it right and left. You guys come to me for marketing. I'm there.
I have several other notes that I wanted to just touch on, and thank you for being generous with your time. We've got...
Oh, my gosh. I'm so excited you asked me. I'm totally excited.
Oh, well, obviously that shows, and that was actually the next bullet point that I had written down is passion. And you've talked about, obviously, Jeep, rescue dogs. You've talked about Dove, and I can't remember the other company that's close to you.
HeartGuard and Frontline with Muriel, yeah.
So you've got all of these things that you're passionate about. And what I talk about in the podcast a lot is, and this is kind of a combo because you've mentioned that your investigative journalism has helped you with your research. I talk a lot about all of your past experiences brought you to the place where you are now. You have a history, you have expertise in other areas. Leverage those into your voiceover. And so you've taken the passion, your past experience, and you've created products and services that you're using to promote your voiceover business for the Jeep brand, but you're leveraging that in other areas too. So I just wanted to point those things out to the audience so that they're hearing these things come up over and over and over again in different episodes. One question I wanted to ask you,
all I got to say is amen.
Oh, cool. Thank you.
Yeah, I'm all behind. You said exactly. I mean, that's just exactly it. Use what you have.
Right. The other thing I wanted to really quickly is that you're doing a multi-pronged approach. You're not just doing videos and audios, but you're doing postcards. Are you doing any sales letters?
Nope.
No, just postcard?
Just postcards, social media, and I have not sent them anything. since the public social media campaign, since they came out with my Jeep story, I have not sent them anything, though I do have some things in the hopper to go.
Okay.
I'm waiting. I'm restructuring the KB for Jeep page, so I need to get that better before. It needs to be, like you said, I'm detailed. It needs to be right before I send out another one, because I've developed so much more content, and I want to share that with them. But I do, when I, again, research. So when Scott Talon just took over as head of the brand when Jim Morrison was moved to Ram. So I know nothing about Scott Talon. Scott Talon, if you're listening, you are a man of mystery. So I have researched and researched and researched him. I cannot find him, but I did send him a congratulations card. When Jim Morrison was head of the brand and they would win all these different awards, I would send them a congratulations card. When Kim Adams' house was named by, I think it was Jet Magazine, as one of the top women marketers in the country, and she's the head of advertising, I sent her a congratulations card in the mail. I sometimes will send them an email because I do have their email addresses.
Okay.
Very, very rarely, because I don't ever want to be, that one.
You're spammy, yeah.
But again, very personal. I noticed, that you guys, there was this great article about you in the such and such. This is awesome. I absolutely love it. I will send those same types of cards to their ad agency because I'm watching them as well. Google Alerts. That's another little tip for your listeners. Google Alerts are a great way to research your prospects. So something comes up and says, well, so-and-so just got selected to be on a film review team in the UK. So I send them a note. I don't stick my business card in there. Okay, you got to keep the Velveeta cheese factor out.
Okay, go ahead.
You don't want to send crackers with your card. Here's some crackers for that cheese. No. Because it takes away, when you send someone a congratulations card.
Right.
How cheesy is that? Congratulations, but book me. There's more subtle ways to do it. Like I have a branded card that I send out. It's it's a congratulations card. And then you open it up, and it talks about, the audio file on the front is actually Kelley saying, congratulations, please nobody steal my idea. And then on the back where the little hallmark thing would go is my website. That's it. So I don't need to put a card in there. It just, it's there. It's not in their face. It's just there. Congratulations. That's really awesome. Great to see a woman on this particular committee for the first time in however many years. I love what you did with such and such. Best wishes. Have a blast in the UK, Kelley. So I do hit them on other ways. I also engage with them on social media very actively, as much as I can.
I think the thank you note is a great idea. And just to kind of reaffirm what you just said, John is a stumble bumble today.
No,
Hello.
you're not. You
Words.
sound great.
English
I wish I sounded as good as you when I stumble.
Well, thank you. But to just piggyback on your thought about thank you cards, I did something for our morning show here. Their producer's birthday was, a couple of weeks ago, so they asked me
Happy birthday.
Yeah, they asked me to produce a little bit for them to intro for something else that they wanted to do on their show to kind of make fun of how old he is. And so I did it, and the morning show gal, Kennedy, she wrote me a thank you note, and she's got this embossed return address on the outside flap, and she's got her name embossed on the card, and a nice personalized note. And I keep it. I have it right here in my folder, and it's, this was, a couple of weeks ago. Email, you just get deleted. But this was just a nice one-sentence thank you note. I'm like, that was nice. And I saw her in the parking lot because we kind of ships passing in the night because of the shifts that we have. And I saw her in the parking lot, and I said, hey, Kennedy, thank you so much for that note. And she says, oh, it was great. Thanks so much. That sounded awesome. But, little things like that.
Absolutely.
You ever heard the expression, little hinges swing big doors?
No, but I love it.
Yeah.
All right, I'm stealing that. I got to write that down.
That's a writer downer.
I really like that. Little hinges swing big doors. I love that.
Yeah, Dan Kennedy said that to me, or said that, not just to me, but to a lot of folks. It's a great expression. And a thank you note is a little hinge, but it can open up a whole bunch of doors for you. So
my only caution with that is always make sure it's okay to send it. Like I have one agent that encourages me to do. I mean, I love writing thank you notes.
Yeah.
I'm very old school that way. But I have another one that doesn't want me to do anything like that.
Huh.
So, they don't want anything. And I always say, thank you for booking me through so-and-so.
Yeah.
thanks for the great session. Best wishes with your campaign, Kelley. But there are a couple other ones that are like, do not contact my clients. Period.
Oh, okay. So it's more of a protection
I think it's a great idea, and I always, like you, I have that great response. But it's best just to always make sure it's okay. Like if you're working directly with somebody, like a lot of our corporate stuff is, no problem. But if you've booked it through an agent or a production company, always ask. In fact, I had one production company sent me their letterhead cards. They said, you can do it, but we want you to use our stationery, essentially.
Oh, okay. Yeah, so
that was great. Yeah. No problem.
Yeah. That's oh, jeez.
I'm laughing with you, not at you, I promise.
That's fine. It reaffirms their brand, and they can control the message. So will they actually ask you to send the cards back to them, and they'll mail them for you?
Not that client.
Okay.
I have another client that did. It was a big national booking, and I was so excited, and I wanted to send a thank you note, and I asked, can I send a thank you note? And they said, well, yes, but just send it to us, and then we'll send it on.
Yeah.
And so I always just say ask because it can get really sticky.
Yeah, and that's good. That's good people skills to have too, to kind of sense all of that. That's great.
But I see it as a win-win. The people who don't let me do it, I'm thinking, what the heck? Why not?
Right.
Especially if we've and I don't mean to badmouth people, but if we have established a trust relationship after many years of working together, and I would never go behind your back ever, 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 ever.
Right.
This is a good thing. This is something that will help both of us build our business.
Right.
I lost a major account. And I think part of that is because I was not allowed any interaction with the company that had booked me. I was not allowed any interaction with the end client at all. I mean, they kept so many layers in between us that, I was not to tell them where I lived. They were not to know my last name.
Oh, wow.
Nothing. And so it didn't allow me. I mean, we all know people like to work with people they like.
Right. Yeah.
And I had and relationship building, that is a huge part of marketing, and that's where, again, the research and the soft spots all come in, is relationship building. And I was not able to build any kind of relationship with them at all.
Right. You were never given the opportunity,
No, and it just drove me crazy.
Yeah.
I begged, please let me do something, and they wouldn't. I said, what if I send it in your name?
Yeah.
No. Nope. And they ended up losing that client. Not, again, I'm not going to say it's because of me, but
no, I understand.
When I lost the account, they had lost the account too.
Right, yeah, no, and it's probably because they didn't feel any warmth.
Yeah, there was no connection.
Interesting. So now it seems like a good place to stop the interview. That's about halfway through our conversation. So just a reminder, go to the show notes for episode 44, click the links, and watch the videos that Kelley produced to promote herself to Jeep. You can get those at voiceovermarketingpodcast.com, episode 44. And I'm pushing the show notes hard this week because there's a lot of stuff there. Like I said, there's videos, there's pictures. And another thing that I want to share with you is I mentioned it in a couple of previous episodes of the podcast. I've started a new blog. It's called The Voiceover Athlete. That's voiceoverathlete.com. And I want to share with you a resource that this is also in the show notes. There's a book, if you're a voice talent and you're concerned about your health. I am not a doctor, but the person who wrote this book is, and it's called The Deflame Diet, and it's written by Dr. David R. Seaman, and it's all about inflammation of the body and how refined sugars, refined grains, whole grains, so much of the Western diet is comprised of those sources of calories. And they're finding out that it's causing a lot of inflammation in the body, and inflammation leads to a whole host of diseases. It leads to weight gain, cardiovascular disease, Parkinson's disease, Alzheimer's, all kinds of stuff. And I have been working with my trainer. I've told you about this in the past. I really needed to get serious about my food and my diet. And so I read this book, I've put it into practice, and I have lost close to 15 pounds. I had a physical back in June of 2016. I think it was June 20th. And I'm 15 pounds lighter. I was 215. I tipped the scales this morning at 200 pounds. And I'm actually eating more. I'm eating fruits and vegetables. I'm eating salads. I'm eating lean meats. But I'm staying away from refined sugars. The only sugar that is like a tablespoon that I put in my morning coffee. And that's it. I'm not eating bread. I'm not eating pasta. A lot of folks out there are going, oh my God, how can you do that? You got to try it. If you're feeling sluggish, and I'm doing a lot of stuff in the VoiceOver Athlete website. I've got some neat things I want to show you, but a lot of our stuff comes down to the food we eat. And so check that book out. It's The Deflamed Diet by David Seaman. He's a doctor. And I wish I had this guy as my chemistry teacher in high school, because if I had him, I know I would have done better. Sorry, Miss Day. But he explains it very step by step, talks about what the different types of fats there are, the difference between a saturated fat and an unsaturated fat, and a monounsaturated fat and a polyunsaturated fat. And he explains what happens when you eat certain types of food in the body. And I can't say enough about it. It's a tough read. I mean, it takes an effort. There's parts that I go back and I go, I'm not sure I understand this, and I'll read a part again. But I am really enjoying this book, and it's made a big impact in my life. If you want to learn more about it, go to the show notes for this episode or go to voiceoverathlete.com, and I've got a link to it there as well. All right, so second part of my interview with Kelley Buttrick is next week, and thanks for listening to me rant on, and I will talk to you soon. Take care. Uncle Frank, take it away.
Our program originates in the Boston studios. We hope you'll join us again. Until then, we bid you au revoir, keep your chin up, and the best of luck.
Well, that's it for this episode of the VoiceOver Marketing Podcast. If you like this podcast, please subscribe to it at voiceovermarketingpodcast.com so you'll get notices of new episodes. And please share it with your friends and colleagues in the voiceover world. Also, it would be a huge help if you'd like this podcast and rate it on iTunes to help keep it near the top of the list. Feel free to share your comments and questions about this episode and future topics you'd like discussed at voiceovermarketingpodcast.com. And if you'd like more information on one-on-one coaching where we focus on growing your business, feel free to drop me a line at my cyber assistant's email address at mike@johnmelly.com. Thanks for listening. Now go out there and share your voice with the world.